Greetings, YouTube. Today I have a question about phones. Now, my phone is somewhat archaic. It's a flip phone. It I guess in theory it does actually have access to the internet. I've never used it, and I probably never will. Though I have sent text and received text on this, um, which is somewhat cumbersome because it has the standard keyboard. Um, and I can't say that I'm a big phone talker because I'm not. There was a time when I was. Um, and that time was before the existence of email. Because for me, the preferable method of contacting people is email. That's the way I like to contact people. I can send images, I can send files, I can keep track of conversations if I want. I can save particularly important messages quite easily that way. I can craft what I write with it, so I send exactly what I want to say. I'm a big user of email. I know that probably marks me as an archaic individual as well. But at one time, I made a lot of phone calls. When I grew up in my town, we only had a 5-digit phone number, and we had rotary phones. I can remember making many, many calls on rotary phones. So when we went to push button phones, that was a major innovation. Like, woohoo, push button, no more rotary phones. I don't miss rotary phones, though the sound was always kind of cool. And I spent a lot of the time on the phone because that was the only means of contacting businesses, contacting your friends, contacting and getting information if you needed from about movies and stuff. Anything you wanted to know came through the phone. That was the source of the world outside your home that had any level of interaction. Because everything else was passive radio and television, whether it was over the airs or cable. And I had cable since my childhood. So for me, airwave television, over the air was always weird. I was like, you don't have cable? I figured everybody did. I had it for so much of my life. I don't remember never not having it when I was a kid. Um, so phones became ubiquitous. Now I knew people that didn't like making phone calls. Okay, but that marked them as an outlier. Jump forward to 2017, and we have this phone, which is far more complex than a phone that I had as a child, and many people, most people even, have smartphones. My wife has a smartphone. My mother-in-law has a smartphone. I think my mom has a smartphone. Um, but I don't have a smartphone. At this point in my life, I don't really need one. Maybe that'll change someday. I'm not positive. We'll see. But at the moment, I don't feel the need for a smartphone. If I ever get one, my wife's gonna be terrified because that means she's gonna have to teach me how to use an Apple device, and she would not be looking forward to that. She is far more technically savvy than I am. And I've noticed while perusing the internet and engaging with quite a few people through YouTube that there are a lot of folks that don't like to make phone calls. That their preference are texts and tweets. They don't have a difficult time communicating through social media outlets like the chat features or the interaction features of things like Instagram and Tumblr, and of course YouTube. They're very comfortable with that. I can understand being very comfortable with that. What I don't 100% understand is the anxiety that some people have about making the phone calls themselves. Now, there have been specific phone calls that I was anxious about, but not phone calls in general. Phone calls in general are not something that I have a difficulty with. I have been getting so many spam calls as of late. When the phone rings and I pick it up, and if I don't immediately recognize the number, I don't say anything. Not a word. And if the system doesn't ask me something, or the person doesn't ask me something, I'll hang up on it. I've actually had people confused because the phone rings, I say nothing, they're like, hello? You're a person. Hello, how are you today? But there's no anxiety when I pick that phone up and answer it. So I'm not trying to belittle someone's anxiety because that would be cruel. I'm trying to understand it. What is it about making phone calls in the modern era, 2017, that causes anxiety in some people. I am legitimately trying to understand the reasons behind that. And so I thought I'd ask my viewers, because some of you folks may have that anxiety yourself, or may know someone who has that anxiety, a loved one, roommate, friend, whatever, um, coworker. And I know that some people have social anxieties, which is legitimate. I have had minor levels of that in the past. Um, and I'm just, since I don't like to be around people that drink and smoke, it cuts down on my desire to socialize in a lot of venues. Um, but I am trying to understand here. So I thought I'd ask, because that's one of the best ways to achieve understanding is ask. So there you go. Can somebody tell me if they, in fact, have a phone anxiety? And if they do they understand the reason behind it? If you don't understand the reason behind it, that's perfectly acceptable. We all have anxieties that we don't grasp. I get very anxious when there are too many dishes in the sink, and I've never been able to understand that, ever. It makes no sense to me, but it is a thing. And so it means I do more dishes. So let's talk about phones, though I'm sure that your phone is far more advanced than mine.